Welcome to another edition of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour with your host, Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing and Kimberly Mackey with New Home Solutions Consulting.
Well, let's fire this. Let's fire up this conversation here. So I come up with a quote, and I saw a version of this somewhere else. So I can't say this is my total original idea, but somebody that I was reading made a comment sort of similar to this, but I don't know who it was to attribute it to them. So if I stole your comment or changed it around, I apologize for that, but I liked it. So technology may not replace the roles of sales and marketing, but those who fail to embrace technology in those roles may very well be replaced. So, and our industry has been very slow to adapt, we're just not known as being innovators when it comes to this stuff. And that has to change or we're going to get left in the dust. So, in our role in sales and marketing, I think we have to be the leaders of this, but there's so much technology that really helps us operationally and everything else. So, today we're gonna, obviously this is the sales and marketing power hour. So we're gonna focus a lot on that, but Beth and Monica, help us out with those operational things too, because I know you both have a really strong working knowledge of that. So we'll get our housekeeping out of the way. Carol, you want to invite people?
Absolutely. If you have not joined us on the Facebook group, which is Sales and Marketing Power Hour, we would love to have you. We would love for you to participate too. So feel free to post so that it's not just Kimberly posting all the time. She always gets after me because I don't post enough. We would love, if you see something funny or you have a question about something, jump on, post, ask questions, and participate. So find us on Facebook.
I think that's kind of like the cobbler with the kids with no shoes kind of thing. It's ironic that you're a social media company, but I'm the one posting on. Yeah,
It's because we're busy posting on our
you're
client
busy
sites.
posting for everybody else. You forget to yes.
It is funny. So,
All right. So, would you like
yeah,
to introduce yourself,
I
please?
will jump in. I'm Carol Morgan, founder and president of Denim Marketing. My goal is to have marketing with intent and not have random acts of marketing. So we work to create cohesive marketing plans for our clients, and we specialize in all things content. So public relations, social media, blogging, Facebook advertising. We write lots of awards and do a ton of email marketing. So if you need help with any of that, give us a shout. Back to you, Miss Kimberly.
Random acts of marketing. I like it. I like it. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Kimberly Mackey. My company is New Home Solutions Consulting, and I'm a sales and marketing management consultant. I also do training for builders, but I like to say that people call me when they want to make sure that sales is the engine that drives the train rather than running it off the tracks. So it's not just more sales, it's consistent, profitable, and predictable sales. And I make sure that all the parts and pieces, the systems, everything behind it supports those efforts so that we can do that. So no random acts of sales either, Carol. So they need to have intent too. And this is how you can reach me. So if you have any questions, feel free to just jump on my calendar. It's easy to go on the website and just schedule a call with me at a time that makes sense for you. And there's no charge for that. I'm happy to help you out. And if I can't help you out, I'll try to find somebody who can. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first guest, Miss Monica Wheaton. So Monica, tell us about ECI.
Thank you, Kimberly. Yeah, my name is Monica Wheaton. I'm the Vice President of Customer Success for the Residential Home Construction Division of ECI. So at ECI, we have 6 different softwares that we offer to basically home builders in the home building industry. And most of you are probably familiar with Lasso CRM. It's the #1 CRM for new home sales. So I work a lot with our Lasso customers, but we also have on the sales and marketing side another product called InSearch, which is online sales and design center experience. And then also LotView, which is our interactive site maps. And that all ties in with our operating systems that we offer as well. So super excited. I love my job because I love making sure customers are doing what they need to be doing to be successful and are not doing random acts of marketing or sales or even operations, and that they're using their systems to manage with the data that they can get out of it. And so it's very important to me to talk about the importance of technology and the importance of data and managing with purpose. So I love being on this Power Hour. So thank you very much for the invite.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, I love the title of customer success. Like we need more VPs of customer
Customer
success, right?
success. Yeah.
Yeah. Beth.
Thanks for having me, Carol and Kimberly. I'm Beth Byrd. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Beacon Homes. We are a regional home builder in Oklahoma City and Tulsa markets. We're kind of on the smaller end nationally speaking. We're going to do about 130 homes this year. And I'm just so glad to be part of this conversation today.
Yeah,
We're excited to have you. Thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise. And thank you to Beacon Homes for letting you do this. So not all builders are eager to have their talent on sharing their secrets. I use air quotes for that, right? Coming up, Carol and I are going to do something a little crazy. So, which, nobody's surprised at that part of it, but we're going to do a crossover event with the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast with Greg Bray and Kevin Weitzel. No strangers to this program, but our topic is going to be, whose job is it, sales or marketing? So, and it's going to be a crossover event. So you'll get part of it on the next Sales and Marketing Power Hour. And then you'll need to tune into the Digital Marketing Podcast to hear the conclusion of the conversation. So always fun when the four of us get together. You never quite know exactly what's going to happen. But it's our first time of ever doing something like this with a crossover event. So if you've watched CSI or any of the Chicago shows where they do crossover, that was kind of the inspiration for that. So I hope you will mark your calendars and join us in June. And hopefully when you registered today, you just registered for all of the Sales and Marketing Power Hours. So
yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I was laughing. You said you never know what's going to happen. The reality is we don't know what's going to happen when we do this. So it'll be a lot of fun. And if any of you in our audience today have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover during that crossover event, then throw them in the chat or shoot me or Kimberly an email. We'd love to have your input. Well, with that, we're going to kick off our talk about tech today with each of us giving you our top 3 can't live without them digital tools that we use daily. So for me, and I don't know that I ever thought I would say this, my top 3 probably start with ChatGPT, which it's a great little intern for me and does great first drafts. So ChatGPT, Grammarly, I probably use more than ChatGPT, actually. I use it for everything, although I highly disagree with it about the Oxford comma. That doesn't belong anywhere. And then third for me would be Canva. And with that, I'll turn it over to Monica for her top 3.
Yeah, sure. Of course, the CRM is very important to me. So of course, we use our CRM daily, and Lasso being that one. And also, I use ChatGPT a lot too, and really to get not necessarily to write emails and stuff, but to get the ideas, right, and to get those ideas flowing where you just have a few bullets. And I love really tailoring it too once you ask it a couple more questions and stuff. And then also I leverage a lot, actually, like my bookings is another technology that I like to use a lot. So yeah.
What does bookings do?
Well, just bookings, just to get the people to leverage the calendaring aspect of it.
Oh, okay.
Sending out the link and getting people to register that way versus having to go back and forth and try to find times on your calendar. And so I think a lot of salespeople actually use bookings, but then you can also go back and look at the reports and bookings too to see where you spent your time and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's just like Calendly.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah.
I assumed, but I didn't want to totally assume there.
Beth, you want to share your top 3?
Sure. So for me, CRM is absolutely number 1. I live in my CRM all day long, and we are Lasso customers. We've been with Lasso a long time. Love it. Number 2 is my interactive site, and it's plans, maps, and visualizers, all 3 rolled in one. We live in that. And interestingly, we can talk about it later. if you want, I use it for lots of things outside of the normal sales stuff. And then my third is Trello. I use that to track all of my to-dos, and I have boards for all the different teams that I work with. It really helps me keep track of what we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a job in and of itself. So I use a different app for that because I do traction and EOS with with all of my builders. So I use an app called 90IO, and if you haven't tried 90IO if you're using traction, let me tell you, it truly it's the best app out there for it, including the one that traction came out with. I just don't. I find it clunky still. It doesn't have all the bugs worked out of it. Because I never tell my builders what software they have to use. I adapt to what they're using. I make recommendations certainly, but that is one where when I get the opportunity to recommend, definitely 90IO is a big one for me. And then obviously Chat GPT, Claude. When I got in an argument with Chat yesterday and he kept telling me it couldn't do blah blah blah, I was like, all right, fine. So I literally took the garbage that I got on Chat GPT, moved it over to Claude, and got something fantastic that I could then work with. I could edit, so it actually gave me what I needed. So that one was good. And I use Otter AI. And I use Otter AI for a couple of reasons. So for things like this, or meetings where I have the transcript, or I want it to create a transcript for me, but it has now got a new advanced feature that's even better than the Zoom feature. So Zoom has an AI now that'll give you the meeting, a meeting summary, but it does very bizarre things and still goes off on really weird tangents. So I can actually record the meeting, put that in Otter AI, and then it will spit out not only the transcript, but it'll give me a summary that actually makes sense.
Right.
Which is fantastic for summarizing meeting notes. And you can ask it to put the to-dos in there. So, you can have your to-dos, you can have your rocks, you can have any of your issues that come up if you're from all my traction people. So I use that one a lot, and it is a huge time saver over manually taking notes and retyping all that.
Agree. Yeah, I love Otter. You're the one that turned me on to Otter, so I've been using it, but I don't like it when it like is cut off in the middle of a couple of our Zoom meetings. I'm like, well, where did you go, AI? It's not very helpful if it's not there. So I don't know what that's about, but
oh yeah, I don't use it attached to Zoom. So
yeah.
I take the voice recording
and put it in, yeah,
and put it in afterwards.
So yeah,
It's one more step because sometimes with Zoom, when you add those third-party apps, it just doesn't always
yeah,
work.
it doesn't always work. But when it participates, it's great.
I think the technology is wonderful when it works.
When it works. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's dive into a little bit more, and we'd like to hear from you. So fire up that chat, share your essential tools. So what you like. So apparently Kyle thinks the Oxford comma is essential. So now we've got a whole debate over Oxford commas going. So I like it. Buyers expect so much more, and I think that is where we as the home building industry have kind of really dropped the ball, because we're not keeping up with what buyers expect from other industries. They're seeing this elsewhere, they're using this technology elsewhere, and then we're still gating information. I literally went on a large national builder's website this week, and I wanted to go to an interactive floor plan. It was gated. I had to put my info. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I had that conversation last week with a client, and they're like, well, now should we put that behind? It's like, no, don't require an email. Let them have all the information they need, because if you don't, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yep.
So.
And even though I was using it as a coaching tool, I was like, I'm not putting my information in here yet again. Like, no, I mean, how many emails from me do you really need? So it's just frustrating. And we forget about putting things in from the buyer's experience. So Beth, let's kick this off with you. So what are your buyers telling you that they expect as kind of a bare minimum from you?
They expect immediate communication, and they're expecting it to be smarter and smarter and smarter. And as a smaller company, that's challenging to figure out the best ways to do that. So I'm not sure we've got that figured out, but we're looking at some new tools to keep people up to date really fast on what's happening, not only through sales. Sales has kind of figured that out. Sales understands the speed. The challenge is more post agreement to move in. They
100%.
expect a lot of updates. I mean, you know exactly where any packages that you've ordered almost anywhere, or where your food or grocery delivery is. And yet it's really challenging to get a tool that helps them show exactly where their home is in the process. And there are things out there that do that, but that's something that we're working with. They also expect to be able to be like HGTV, where they can just see what it looks like, exactly the way that their room is going to look. And so coming up with more and more tools to help them visualize the product on the front end is so important. They don't want to just look at a paper floor plan anymore. That's not okay. They expect much smarter options.
Yeah, visualizers I think are so key. I mean, I'm so old and I've been doing this so long. I literally sold homes with blueprints spread across the hood of my car, before we had models in a community. And I was always put when it was just dirt out in the community. And and the customers just always, they would take a leap of faith. And I did a lot of pre-sales that way, but a lot of it was, this struggle to figure out exactly what is the size of my room, what is, even a home at frame. Like you walk a buyer through and they're just confused.
Yeah. And I think the same thing's true for all of the, options and upgrades and design features. We're seeing those design centers get bigger and bigger and bigger, and seeing sample size get bigger and bigger and bigger, so that you can really see what is that countertop. Instead of looking at this little teeny square, you're looking at least a 2x2, something that you can see with the fixtures and see with the paint color and all the things, so that you're not, guessing. You're making more of a educated decision because you can see all the things. Are you
Exactly.
seeing?
And those visualizers, you can, they have the libraries of all this stuff.
Right.
So they can just immediately, you just tell it what the options are, and boom, there it is. There's a beautiful picture rendering of it.
Yeah, that's right. And they expect to be able to do it from the comfort of their home.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having to come out to you to see those things. So we had an online design center for quite a while, and we're in the process of switching over to InSearch, actually, because one of the challenges as a building company is having the different technologies working together and talking to each other. And so we were already using an ECI ERP, so it made sense to have our design tool talk to all of the other departments in the company. But the customers expect that from their couch, they can sit and see what all those choices look like.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're a builder who doesn't have you're a custom builder, and so everything's custom, I still recommend, that's one of the first tools when I come in to help a builder grow, is we need to have floor plans.
Yeah.
So even if you're going to custom, that's fantastic, but people still need a place to start.
Yes.
So let's come up with 5 or 10 good, solid floor plans and be able to set some smart options, structural options that go along with that. Because oftentimes if you do that, you stop a lot of the customization. Like people are like, oh, that works. You mean I can add a sub? Well, that's all I needed. This works perfect for me. Or, oh, can I bump the garage out 2 feet? Sure, look, click right here. And then they can see it, and so even custom people, if you're on, yeah, we're talking to you too.
It just makes the conversation so much easier too. I mean, you think of yourself when you go into a store and you have 1,000 different options, it gets overwhelming, right? Even as a custom builder, if you can say, okay, let's start here and let's just put you in these 1 of 5 buckets. Okay, this is kind of what you have in mind, then let's go from here. And then we can bump out and do these other little things, and adjust the plans. But giving them the world, it sounds like it's a great idea, but when it gets down to it, it freezes a lot of people,
Well, if you want, an 18-month to 2-year build time. So
right.
Yeah.
That too.
Well, it seems, and Beth talked about this some, communications are getting faster and faster and faster. They expect somebody to be there 24/7, both on your website. And then once have signed that contract, they want constant communication too. So, Beth, do you want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the tools you're using for that? And then Monica, chime in on the tools that you know of that can help as well. Because I think this is one of the biggest struggles that builders are facing today, and figuring out how to ramp up.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the sales end, we just use the basics. We have an OSC. I think that we assume that that's happening, but a lot of builders, when I go to the builder show, I'm constantly amazed at how many people don't have an OSC. So a person who's dedicated to that quick communication. And then we're using chat on our website. And that's giving customers are giving great feedback on the ability to just ask a quick question. We're also just teaching our team to do more with less. So using their cell phone to provide video updates quick, like, hey, let me just shoot a quick video. Our construction team changed to doing that this year, and our customer service scores went through the roof. They text quick video updates all the time. It's easy. It's free. And people love it. They're so excited, and they're less likely to come out to the site to check on it themselves too when they've had a good view from the video. So sometimes it's picking simple things. How do we take what we already have and do more with it to give a better experience? And then going back into the sales end, we have a new go for our interactive maps and plans, and we do exterior visualizations. Interiors on my wish list coming up. We determined that for our buyers, visualization happened more in the sales phase and somewhat in the design phase. The design phase is when we need the SKU level choices. They want to see what that quartz looks like. They want to see what their backsplash tiles are. But at the sales phase, they want to know, what look is this kitchen going to be? And am I going to be able to get the style I want? They're not so much worried about SKU specific. So that tool worked best for us to kind of keep all of that in the sales phase, so that the customer can see what home site's available, see which floor plan, pick their structural options, and then see the overall look and feel of the house before they commit to it. And then post agreement, that online design center, so they can go home after they've signed the agreement, come up with a wish list of here's all the products. So when I get to my design meeting, I already have made a huge chunk of the decisions, and I can spend my face-to-face time focused on the things that I wasn't sure about, and I need the expert to coach me, or I need to see that sample in person because I couldn't quite tell from the screen which one I'd like better. And they're able to have a much shorter, better for our team, but much better quality appointment because they've done so much of that on the front end. So that has been a game changer for us.
And it helps to set those expectations, because
That's right.
at the end of the day, the customer experience is 99% customer expectations.
That's exactly right.
When we know what this path is, and we can show people that there are tools that can answer their questions, and that, they don't have to wait till Friday to hear from us, but they also expect to hear from us every Friday.
Yes.
Whether it's through Mark Systems, whether it's through Builder Trend, whether it's whatever you're using, that communication tool, you have to use it consistently. And, and anything visual. Yes, absolutely. And all of them offer the opportunities for photos, uploads, videos, all that communication needs to be kept in one spot for that. And then we just need to do it every single week. So that the buyer isn't calling us on Monday and Tuesday when we're busy doing other things, because they know that there's going to be more communication that comes out next Friday.
Yeah. So Beth, for your team that's shooting those videos, are they using a tool, or are they just using their phone and just
they're just their phone?
Them?
They're literally just shooting a video from their phone and texting it. And as long as it's a short enough clip, and then I've taught my team, if you've got an out-of-town buyer, somebody who needs a longer video walkthrough, you upload it to YouTube as an unlisted video. So it's not out there for the world to see. You send them a link and you can do long form video that way. So we do pay for BombBomb for our OSC. But for our other team members, those are our, you'll find I'm kind of a thrifty person. So those are our free options that we've utilized.
Yeah. So are those your on-site people shooting those, or construction?
Both.
Okay.
So construction's responsible for doing it weekly. Sales team does it as a bonus, because their goal, of course, is referral. So it's like, hey, I was in the neighborhood today. I saw the progress on your home. Wow, this looks amazing. Check it out.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, the videos make a big difference.
And the buyers expect that. But if it's a prospect, one of my favorite tools for prospect, and whether we do it with BombBomb or we just take a quick video, is to hold up a picture with their name on it. So they realize this is a custom video made for you. I mean, that's so easy, right? It's so analog. write on a piece of paper with a Sharpie
Yeah.
their name,
Yeah.
hold it up as the opening frame so they see that, and then they're going to watch
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the other one that's interesting is we pulled our warranty team in on some of this communication, and they are utilizing our CRM Lasso for communication as well, because we realized all these people are already in there.
Right.
We're already rating them as purchasers or homeowners. Why not let this tool communicate on the end of the process as well as the beginning? And that's been great. They've also picked up using our call tracking software for the warranty team. That's been another one. We love our call rail for our online sales counselor, but it's a fantastic tool at the end of the process for warranty as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
The front end and the back end are really very similar. They're
Mhm.
very
They are.
customer,
That's
it
right.
has to be very customer focused. And
Yeah.
Monica, you know where I'm going with pipelines. So
Yes.
when we have a CRM where we can set up multiple pipelines, one of the tools that I like to do is for warranty, set up those
Right.
stages of the warranty process
Right.
and set up those pipelines. And then for our warranty people, all they have to do, just like our salespeople, click and drag. There's something so satisfying about
Yeah.
clicking and dragging.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's visual, you know where everybody is and and you've also defined every step of the way so that people don't fall through the cracks. I like setting up tasks. Tasks are
Mhm.
good. I like tasks on my calendar. I like seeing them in red and green, but it's just not as satisfying as taking that visual pipeline. Every ECI person I come in contact with, just give me a pipeline.
I will pass along that message, and I will definitely let our team know that that's something that's definitely desired. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that, set up some sales processes to track that in warranty. And it's nice to see more builders adopting Lasso, not just for the front end, but even just managing the whole process, even the build process, and keeping in communication as a customer care. We've got a couple builders who have created customer care positions. So it's not just the sales team or the field team that are communicating with the buyer. It's an actual customer care person who's
Right.
making sure they're getting passed through the process and staying up to date and moving through the different, build processes and things like that. So that's been really cool to see. And then to have it also with the warranty, I mean, that just makes so much sense. And you
Well-
can even set up a process to contact them in, a year, 2 years, or whatever, for referrals, or for, is your house getting a little old? You might want to look at this new community down the road, that
Right.
kind of thing. So
Yeah, the
think
beauty
that's
of the
great.
Lasso drip campaigns is amazing. We've set up drip campaigns for individual communities, for realtors, for the builder as a whole, for buyers, and then once they're owners, setting up that whole warranty drip campaign that reminds them what's going to happen after they've closed, the 30-day, 90-day, whatever all of those moments are, and then also having some education to that kind of tells them what they should be doing as far as home maintenance at different times of the year, because they may not know.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
They definitely don't know. I assure you they don't know. But the beauty of setting up the tasks in Lasso, which is so invaluable because it goes on your calendar, you're going to get the reminders of whoever's job that's going to be to do that follow-up. But then the dashboards too. So leaders, we can look at those dashboards because I can't go into every single person in Lasso.
No.
And no sales manager is going to have time to do that. But those dashboards that you can set up for each salesperson or for each department, and there's a lot of power in those dashboards. And I always say I'm just so happy we have a Heidi, and now I learned we have a Corey. That's exciting. So hey, plug and play the Kimberly dashboard. It's awesome.
Yeah, the dashboards, and I love the dashboards because managing, like I said at the beginning, managing from your data, you can always manage by how you feel. But it's interesting that you feel a certain way and you're reading the market a certain way, but that you're biased in your opinion. And so you're actually only seeing reinforcing things for what you're feeling. And so you may be wrong, right? But then when you look at the data, you can actually see what is it that the buyers are actually doing, what is actually having an impact on our sales and on bringing buyers into our pipeline, basically. And so it's really the more you can leverage those dashboards or any kind of data, you're keeping track of all of that in your CRM so you can analyze it and use it going forward is just huge value. So yeah.
And they help your team and
Yes.
embrace the tech too, because I have one-on-one huddles with my sales team every week, and at least twice a month I open our dashboard together so they know They see the
Mhm.
dashboard with their name on it. They know that I'm watching their people and that person by person, we're going to go through. So it
Mhm.
really helps them to stay on top of their people more when they see that I'm watching very carefully.
Well, and the cool thing
And
about that,
I want to chime in on that because you know how passionate
Well,
I
do
am
you
about
like
that.
accountability, Kimberly? We
Oh,
didn't
I
know
do.
that.
I love it, but I like motivational accountability. So I hear from sales leaders all the time, I can't get my team to use it. I'm going to just say right now, and I'm on the record so many times in places, I'm sure there's a million recordings of me saying this. It's not a them problem, it's a you problem if you're in sales or you're
absolutely.
in leadership. You have to use this stuff.
Yes.
So
Right.
Beth says,
Yes.
I'm in this. I'm looking at the dashboards. I'm having my planned encounters with my team every week, and we're reviewing this data. When you're doing that with your team every week, they're not going to want to have egg on their face. They
Right.
will do it.
Well, and Kimberly, one of the funniest stories that I heard from a builder is that they had a report that they would review weekly with their team, and the people that were underperforming, they just changed their number to red. So
Oh,
they had the whole team sit in the sales meeting, and they
how
just had, like,
embarrassing would that be?
3 people with red numbers.
Mhm.
Those people were not red the next week, and nobody
No.
wanted to be on the red number. And so
Right.
it really helped them to get their team to adopt, the technology or the processes, just so that they wouldn't be, and they weren't
wants to be
even called out. They were just
Yeah.
being read. That was
Yes.
it.
Well, that's the same. That's why you have KPIs or your key
Right.
performance indicators, right? And so we put those in a scorecard. So, and I use that scorecard with the dashboard, and I can manage people from anywhere across the
Right.
country or the continent. So, it doesn't matter because I have those. And again, numbers don't lie. Monica's right. You can justify, you feel this way, this happened, we can make excuses, but when you're seeing those numbers day in and day out, and if they're KPIs that are set up appropriately, the results show. Because if you're doing these things, they lead to a very specified result, i.e. sales.
Right.
So, when you do that and you hold those two things together, and again, that's one of the things I love about my scorecards in 90IO is it's green or it's red. So are we hitting our KPIs? If we're not, they turn red.
Right. Right.
And sometimes there's a reason they turn red, right? It's
Yeah.
not always that somebody dropped the ball.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you can dive in then and really
Right.
explore what the problems are.
But you
and
get an
really
early
focus
heads
in on
up. All of that
Yeah.
red is a warning light to say,
Right.
wait a minute, let's look at something, especially if we're seeing red a couple of weeks in a row.
Right.
Okay, something's going on here.
Right.
Is it our marketing effort? Do we have bad photography? Does our website not drive leads? I looked at a website yesterday and I went, what leads are we trying to drive with this? And
Right.
it was a total mismatch.
Mhm.
So you got to go, it's not just, oh, this person's dropping the ball because there's red
Right.
on a KPI, but
Well,
it tells you something. We have to react to it.
Well,
Yeah.
and I have another story. It's kind of a tangential one on the design center and data that you can get out of a design center and really arming your, it was a conversation I had with a builder about arming your sales team with the right products to sell. So they found that they weren't, their design center team wasn't upselling, what their selections were, and they were having a really hard time getting buyers to sell that and to purchase it. And they didn't realize until they got on their online design center and they started looking at what buyers were selecting in their homes, like what they were putting on their wish list, what was coming off the wish list, and those kinds of things. And they realized that they were not arming their design team with the right products to upsell. So those weren't the products that the buyers wanted. And that again goes to the feel. Like the builder thought that this is the house that I want. These are the products that I want
Right.
in this build, but this isn't what the buyers want. And so once they were able to take a look at that trending data and use it, they actually retired a lot of those options that they thought were so great and introduced some other ones. And then they were able to then boost their option
Right.
sales quite a bit because they were arming their design team with the right products, which
The
was
right data. Yeah.
That's
so true. So many times you see that the builder builds the house they like with the design they like, or someone in their family likes. And maybe it's even decorated by a family member in the
Yeah.
style that they like, but that might not be what matches the demographic at all. In fact, it could be a huge turnoff for the demographic.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's nice to have that data to back it up.
Yeah.
You have to read the data and, so often I see siloed software
Mm-hmm.
in my builder. So they've got a software that because they went to the builder show and they saw this software and thought, oh, this is going to solve all my problems. So they buy the software, right? And then it doesn't talk to anything else. And so now we have a whole person who just mines data from this one and mines data from this one and aggregates these reports that nobody reads.
Right.
So, so now not only are we not paying attention to our data and it's not as effective as it would be, but we're not doing anything with it and we're paying a person on top of it.
Right.
And that happens so often in a time and place where we're concerned about the affordability of housing. We need to look at our overhead. We need to make sure that we're using technology to do the things that will give us the right information.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that we're putting key people where we need them.
Right.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
somebody to just sit there and do reports that nobody's going to read.
Well, and it's demoralizing for the team too. So what's the point of me using this technology or entering this information if it's not going anywhere? No one's looking at the reports or anything. And so then they end up falling back on their old processes because that's what works and it's easier, right? So you've got to really have use the data that you're getting and demonstrate the impact and the effect of the technology that you've implemented to get people to use it.
Yeah, it's like the builder we were talking about, pre-show, pre-webinar that, wanted to try a new CRM, but isn't using the CRM they have already. So all you're going to do is frustrate your people. You're already not effectively using the one you have, but you're going to implement a whole new one that is like 4 times the work, right? Just not a good idea. Use what you have. As Kimberly says, use it until you break it.
Use it until you break it, man. Like maximize what you've already invested in because there's already stuff in there. But that's what I see often is we're just not maximizing what we've invested in. And
I was gonna say we're not auditing it.
Industry of people of innovators who've jumped up to provide these infill solutions in our industry. And I'm like, we have a need for a good CRM does this. Why do we need this? But because I think the people buying the technology don't take the time to understand the technology and aren't maximizing what they have. They feel like, oh, well, let me just buy this other thing.
Right. Well, and it's funny because so many times too, then the builder's like, this technology sucks. It doesn't work. Well, look in the mirror first, right? Let's look at our teams. Let's look at doing what, right? Yeah. And then come up with a plan because there's definitely reasons why people aren't using technology. And you've got to address the core of that. Like, is it because we didn't have a good vision and I didn't share that vision out? Is it because people feel that their jobs are threatened because we have this? I have a little story about, OSCs and chatbots. Chatbots are threatening to OSCs because OSCs are supposed to handle all that online communication. But if you think about an OSC job, when you talk to an OSC, a lot of them are really overloaded because they have to have their phone with them all the time. People are pinging them at 9 at night and at, 8 in the morning, and they're trying to get their kids all organized and all this. Well, what a chatbot can do is clean some of that up so that the OSC is spending more valuable time with these online leads. So they, the customer gets responded to or the prospect gets responded to, and then the OSC can then massage the relationship after that. But you have to figure out, is that an issue? Did somebody feel threatened? Did they not understand the technology? Because a lot of times you do these trainings and people sit there and they nod at you, right? And they tell you they get it. But then when they actually sit down to do their job, they have no idea what they're doing and they don't want to admit it. So sometimes you really have to sit with those people and really educate them. And another thing is leveraging your champions. So you are going to have those people who really buy into whatever software or technology that you're using. And those are the people who can really go out and be sort of that side person to push your team. So it's not just coming from the management. You guys need to use this and hammering down on them, but it's their friends kind of pushing them along. And how can I sit beside you and help you do this and look at the successes that I've had with it? And you can do this too.
Right.
So a lot of that
I
works.
call those light bulb moments.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I love to celebrate that in our sales meetings and in our meetings and have people like, if you want to do a good job, right? So when you see that somebody's getting something at a rate that's different than other people, then ask them, say, would you mind sharing about your success with this? You just like you said, the champions, but also they're going to learn it even more. Right. Because now if they're going to have to teach it to somebody else, and all of a sudden they're going to really double down on that. And you can do that and really celebrate those successes. I believe in rewarding right behavior as we go along.
Absolutely.
And there is that moment, there is that light bulb moment where people go, oh, this is why we're doing this. But sometimes you have to hold their hand to get them to that point.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I found too, when you're doing the training and you give the person all the information, and then you ask them to repeat it now back to you, or walk me through now. What did we just explain? How are you supposed to enter a lead, or how are you supposed to do this follow-up and stuff? And when they're explaining it back, just like you said, when you're teaching the group, when you're a champion and teaching the group, you learn a lot. But also when you're just walking somebody else through, here's the process, then that person who's the expert can then help correct along the way. Well, no, wait, you got to push this button, or you got to push that button.
Right.
It's less intimidating than going and raising your hand and saying, I have no idea what I'm doing, because somebody's sitting there beside you to help guide you through it. So
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes people do need somebody to sit there and watch them click and help them work through it, because technology can be scary and new things can be scary. And especially if it's not something that you're used to or if you've done before. So, I think there's a lot of people who will adapt really easily to any technology. But there's others who just, that's not the way they're not, they're not going to learn from some presentation. They're going to learn from doing it, and doing it is daunting for them. So helping it, them to work through it on a, in a system that works for them, which may be literally somebody sitting next to them and helping them click the first few times.
Beth, I don't know about you, but my planned encounters are often that way. Like originally, back when I was using GoToMeeting before we had Zoom, and we start with the new CRM, a lot of times I was sharing screens and even taking over their computer to show them, and then have them do it.
Yes.
No matter what, that's a big part of that opportunity with that planned encounter when you do get those one-on-ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you finding, there was a period of time where I was literally teaching people how to put attachments on emails.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Or
had a
set up
couple team
folders.
members
How
like
do you
that.
set up
Yes.
folders in your Outlook?
Yes.
We still are having to teach people how to turn on track changes. It's like, can you turn on track changes and track that versus highlighting it or changing them and not telling us what you changed? Because, I don't learn from that. So yeah, it's just interesting.
Well, it's funny because I do that a lot of the time too. So I'll have somebody show me their screen and show me some of those edits and just say, but it's true. It's even in Excel. It's funny how many people don't know how to expand a column or,
Right.
bold.
Or who will delete a cell? Don't please. Every time I have an Excel spread, I'm like, don't delete anything.
Don't delete any code. Leave the code. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
They break my planned encounter forms on a regular basis. So again, I've moved everything over to 90IO, because people they can't break it, but they can break an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. The other thing that I see is once we have our tech, stack up and running, is sometimes we just assume that it continues to work correctly. And we all know that things break. So remembering to go check and make sure that everything is working. Are all of your contact forms working? Sometimes, especially if you have WordPress, things break and they stop working. So checking those regularly, and then checking your drip campaign. Did the drip campaign that you wrote a year ago, does it still make sense today? Or perhaps is your marketing manager who left a year and a half ago still the person that those drip campaigns go out from? So,
just shared that story this morning, and that's wow, that's,
I know.
At least check to make sure they're coming from the right person.
Right. So, all sorts of little things like that. So audit, always be looking at your stuff, or just, have a friend who, isn't in the industry, pretend that they're going to buy a home from you and just click through a bunch of stuff and see what they find, because it's just hard to keep it all up to date.
Yes.
Well, and that's the other challenge with having so many systems that tie into each other, is because each system does their own updates. And once they update, it changes the way they can connect and stuff.
Correct. So things break, which we all hate, but that's part of it, unfortunately. So all the troubleshooting.
Like we all need IT departments, but
what?
I don't know very many builders who actually have an IT department until they become a really big builder. So
right. Yeah.
We typically outsource a lot of that, but I try to break stuff when I'm working with builders. So I'm on their websites, I'm in their CRM, I am literally trying to break things to see where the breaking points are. But those drip campaigns, Carol, that is such a valuable point, because I had a builder a couple weeks ago. They launched a CRM. They have they outsource sales to some general real estate, into a general real estate company. So they decided to do the CRM that those agents were using.
Oh, no.
Well, it's set up for general real estate,
Right.
and like all these random text messages started going out, and now customers were calling us and going, "What the heck?"
Right. It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense for the end user. I mean, that's the reason we use tech. It's all about them.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about the drip campaigns too is it's nice because you don't have to, you can set it and forget it. But then at the same time, people are expecting this personalized experience. Like you said, the video you want to hold up and make sure the buyer knows it's for them. Same with the emails. Like when I get something that's too marketing or too generic, even if it has my name on it, I discount it, right? So you want to have some drip campaigns there, but you also got to keep in mind that there's a balance between the drip and the personalization.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think both. I mean, so your A's and B's are, and where your people are, like meet people where they are. So if you've got a totally hot prospect, like I probably wouldn't drip on a totally hot prospect, because I expect my salespeople to be completely engaged with them, and I'm interacting with my salesperson for that person to make sure it's very personalized. We're moving at the speed that we need to move. But your B's and your C's that are going to take a little bit longer, it's a balance. It's a balance between the personal follow-up and the educational pieces and the newsletter about the community openings and the pretty marketing stuff. And our salespeople, I'm jumping ahead, Carol. This is probably one of those things we'll talk about with our crossover event. But salespeople are like, "Oh, that's marketing's job."
We're
all in sales and we're all in marketing.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a marriage. There's some give and take. So yes, you can have your pretty drip campaigns, but that doesn't relieve the sales agent or the OSC of their duty to have those one-on-one personal conversations.
Yeah.
So, which as a marketing person, we don't know the buyer. We can't have those one-on-one conversations. We've never met them. So that's what the sales team's got to do, right?
Right. And Beth, you mentioned CallRail, which I think is such a valuable tool that we probably chime in on the chat. Are you guys using CallRail? Are you familiar with it? That's one of those things that salespeople had a total freak out when we started using CallRail. Like that's probably one of the biggest. They were fine with the CRMs. They went begrudgingly with me, but once we started adding CallRail or any VoIP system or anything to that effect, like that's where they were like, okay, this is too big brother. Everybody's watching me. And
that's so funny.
But I've learned so many things from checking those CallRail calls,
right?
From nobody's calling me back. All right, well, let's listen to a few of them together and let's see if we can figure out why.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think CallRail is great for figuring out where your leads are coming from too. So,
absolutely.
Not just how the conversations are going. So that's the sales perspective, Kimberly, how the conversations are going from the marketing perspective. I want to know, if we're running a newspaper ad or if we have a billboard up, are those effective? And CallRail and QR codes are both great ways to do that because you can set those up and track them individually.
That's right. They also have shown me when things are broken, because I was getting a report from one large marketing source that we use that said we were getting all these amazing leads. And I'm thinking, no. So I went into CallRail and I found that a large percentage of them were spam calls. So the marketing partner thinks they're giving us all of these great leads because the report shows how many times this number was called. So it helped me with that conversation to identify the broken point. And it really helps me make decisions about where to spend my dollars in the marketing team.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And marketing sometimes, they like their analytics a lot of times on the marketing side. And, I approach marketing from a sales perspective because I want to know what the end result is and kind of track it backwards. What prompted that, how did we reach? How did we get in front of and get the attention of the prospect? But then what was the end result and the steps along the way? And sometimes I think we try to go step A and step Z, and we forget that there's a whole alphabet.
There's a whole lot more absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so you have your CallRail, right? Integrated with Lasso as well.
We do.
So yes. The activity there. And that's a good point. That was what I was going to say too, is that it's not just an entrance point, but you have to see what are the other steps in between and how long is it taking? And as a salesperson, you want to shorten that. And so that's going back to some of those interactive tools that Beth was talking about. When you have those interactive tools on your website, it can really help the sales agents to shorten that cycle from first interest or first appointment to actual sale, because these guys come in much more warmed up to actually make a purchase, right? They've been on there, they've seen the site plans, they've played around with them, gotten to their dream home, found their lot, understand what's around their lot, what's available, all of that. And then, so by the time they come to the sales center, and that's the importance of the integration, right, with everything as well, because the buyer is really expecting to, whatever I'm doing on the website, they don't want to be big brothered and watched, but they want that salesperson to know exactly what it is that they were looking at and what they're
So they don't have
interested
to start
in.
over.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's that removing the friction, right? I mean, think
Yes.
about it. Just having your annual doctor's appointment. They have you fill out this giant list. And, you do it before you get there. Then you get there and they hand you a piece of paper and you're filling out the same, you're answering the same questions. Then you go back to the room and the nurse asks you the same questions. Then the doctor finally comes in and asks you the same questions for the fourth time. And it's just
And then they take your blood pressure.
Right, exactly. And then they finally do something. But, it's that same thing, you don't want to, I don't know. I'll tell you the other user experience that drives me crazy. Delta drives me crazy. So Delta has these great, tools that you can use if you're, all into their Amex program and everything. You can go online and you can reserve a hotel for them. But until last month, if you went on to reserve a hotel through them, which I'm going to get points from through their app, they know who I am. I've logged in, right? But I go to reserve the hotel and I have to put all of my contact information in, including my Delta number. Why? So I think that we have to think through the things that drive us crazy as consumers and then apply that to the business process we're putting them through when they're buying and determine, would that drive us crazy? Because if it would, then we need to figure out ways to streamline it. Because otherwise, again, we're creating friction and they don't want friction. So they'll go somewhere else to avoid it.
Yeah.
Well, and then you think about,
we have to make it easy for buyers to buy. And I think
Right.
that's where a lot of times that's where people bring me in. They realize there's a breakdown here. And when we see we've got really hot prospects and a whole bunch of them, but then they're falling off because we can't price out their homes. We can't give them the information. Everything's taking so long. Then we're losing people, and so the best marketing in the world is not going to fix a bad process. You have to be ready to sell a home.
Absolutely.
And even if you're a custom builder, you need to be ready to sell a home. If you're having to bid out every single one of them, for instance, then that's going to take way too long.
Yeah.
Well, you just added 2 weeks to that.
You think about, like, you don't go to the grocery store and buy milk without knowing the price. You don't, you don't buy a package of milk, egg, and flour for $12 without knowing what each thing is valued at. And so being able to come into a home builder and know what you're getting when you're selecting different options is very valuable. And I know a lot of builders don't really like to share pricing on their websites or pricing with their customers before they actually are ready to buy, but it really helps smooth out the process quite a bit, because how can you buy something if you don't know you can afford it? And what it costs, right? And especially something that's one of the biggest purchases of your life.
Yeah.
I talked to 2 builders this week who told me the traffic, they said, well, marketing's driving all this traffic to us and when that's picked up, but nobody's qualified. And I'm like, so where's the miscue?
Right.
We got to go back a few steps here. We can't just say marketing's driving bad leads. That,
right. Something's wrong in that
you
message.
have to have a plan.
Yeah.
You have to have branding and you have to have messaging that is correct for that. And that starts with the company and knowing who you are. That starts with the vision.
Yeah.
I think if we think about our prospects when you're shopping for anything and you're not making an instant decision in the store, what do you go home and do? You look it up online and you look at other options. Our buyers are doing the same thing with our homes. And so if we don't have the tools for them to be playing with that at home with our home, they're out there on Zillow and on another builder site that does, where if you have those interactive tools where they're pricing out options or looking at structural options or designing and visualizing, they're going home and they're living in your ecosystem, in your world. They're moving forward in the process with you and not someone else, because they're going to do it one way or the other. The question is, are they doing it with you or with somebody else?
Absolutely. That's such a great point, Beth.
100%. So any questions? You guys are very quiet
Very
in the
quiet
audience
today.
I know this is like the quietest chat. But this, there was a question about aggregating across platforms. And that is key. So I'm going to just go back to saying, do an evaluation of your systems, and you may even, and this isn't something I do, and I don't even know who would do this, but we'll find somebody. But you need to really have somebody take stock in the systems that you have and look at where are the dualities, where are the crossovers here, what was the ROI, what was that intention of it, and is your team using it? And it may be that you probably have a couple of redundant systems. So you may discover some cross saving. Sometimes we just get so busy in the day to day that we don't stop and take stock of what we have. But then the next step is, once you've identified that, yes, you have the right systems that help you you expect that they're going to help you, then use them till you break them, man. Use them, maximize that. And that's everybody. That's not just somebody telling, oh, sales team, you go use this. No, if you're a sales leader, you use it too.
Right.
And Kimberly, the other thing, just to add on to that, is when you take stock of what you have, also make sure you're staying on top of any updates that are happening with your
good point.
Tools, because a lot of times you'll miss those messages, and every software is doing enhancements, and you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of those extra tools. Like the dashboards are actually an enhancement, and it's funny how many people we talk to at Lasso are using Lasso that do not know about the dashboards and haven't taken advantage of them. Yeah.
Oh, those dashboards are fantastic.
They're a little intimidating, but once you start diving in, then you start asking more questions and really are able to hone in on what you're doing. So.
Well, it's a security thing too. If you're not keeping up, just like your phone, when your phone runs automatic updates, or, any of your software runs those updates, like if you're not doing it, you're going to find yourself in real trouble. And there's security patches in everything that people are doing. And these days that's mission critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Well, if this is a complicated subject, and there is no one size fits all, but I want to invite you guys, I will send out in the show notes when I send the recording out, everybody's contact information again. And if you have questions, reach out to any of us, and if we don't have the answer, we'll find somebody who does. So thank you to Beth and to Monica for coming on and sharing your expertise. This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This is
absolutely fun. It's always nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
All right, go sell something new and use your tech. Bye, everybody.